Hey everybody, welcome to Bubba Josh Productions. This is a new series that I'm doing for the YouTube channel. My weekly Wednesday top 10. You've seen me post top 10 here before, but it's never weekly. Well, now it is. And I figured a lot of people who follow me know I'm a wrestling fan, so let's start with the top 10 wrestling thing. These are top 10 wrestlers who should have won the WWF World Wrestling Federation, WWE World Wrestling Entertainment main title, their heavyweight championship, but didn't. These now, to make the list, obviously you have to have had wrestled in the WWF or WWE as it is now known at one point in your career, and you have to have not have won the title. Simple. So without further ado, here's the list. Now bear with me. I'm erasing the board. Starting off the list at number 10, it is the $1 Million Man himself, Ted DiBiase. This guy, he was a successful wrestler. He was one half of the World Wrestling Federation Tag Team Champions, Money Inc., with Erwin R. Shyster, IRS. And he also went into WCW as part of the New World Order. He also led his own stable in the WWF called the $1 Million Corporation, not to be confused with the corporation that the McMahons owned later on. Now, at one point, it looked like he had the title at a WrestleMania, I believe it was 4 or 5, correct me if I'm wrong, when Andre the Giant defeated Hulk Hogan for it, and Ted DiBiase bought the title from Andre the Giant. However, that was overturned on the fact that they said you cannot buy the title, you have to win it. And you would see on YouTube there are a house show or a few episodes back then where his name shows up and he's credited as champion, but the World Wrestling Federation never recognized it because they said that was overturned. So because they don't recognize it, technically he was never champion. But because you can find it somewhere saying he was, that's why it's not ranked higher. It's at number 10. I know I need music to fill in this space, sorry. Coming at number 9, it is Big Van Vader. He was in Japan winning world titles there, and he also won the world title, I believe, in WCW at one point as well. But when he was wrestling in the WWF in the early 90s, even though he challenged for it a couple of times, he never won it, which is a shame. But yeah, if you follow the dirt sheets and all that, they say that he got buried, and I'm not one for saying burying. I think you either have it or if you don't, but if there is this one is hard, it's not hard to argue with. So, yeah. Big Van Vader comes in at number 9. He should have won the title. If you follow any mixed martial arts, you will recognize number 8, Ken Shamrock. Believe it or not, he did wrestle in the 90s. In fact, he wrestled during the Attitude Era. He was part of that Vince McMahon's corporation. He won Intercontinental title multiple times. He also won a tag title multiple times. But he never got a chance for the big one. And it's such a shame because there was in the works that they were talking about pushing him and making him a main eventer. And you can see it in the way he was progressing on TV. But he never won the big one. He never even challenged for the big one. But he put on a lot of wrestling clinics. I say he should have had a shot, but he never did. Unfortunate. And then coming in, at number 7, hailing from Scotland, it is the Rowdy one himself, Rowdy Roddy Piper. Another guy who should have won the big one but didn't. And for him, it was more or less bad timing. I mean, he was wrestling in the WF during the era of Hulk Hogan and the Macho Man Randy Savage and the like. And definitely with Hulk Hogan, Roddy Piper was always second fiddle back then, unfortunately. So as long as Hulk was around, Piper wouldn't have won the title. But yeah, that is so unfortunate. Ugh. Sorry, Hot Rod. Number 6, just recently passed, Mr. Scott Hall himself, the bad guy, Razor Ramon, one of the few members of the Clique to have not won the big title. Even though he won Intercontinental title, he won tag title. Yeah. I don't know if, as himself, as Scott Hall, if he won the world title in WCW. I don't know, but this isn't about winning the WCW title anyway. This is about wrestlers in the WWF, WWE who's not won that title. So, yeah. He and Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 10 put on quite a ladder match. They say it was the very first ladder match in WWF history. So, yeah. The bad guy needed to win the big one at least once, but unfortunately, surprisingly, he never did. Number 5, we have the British Bulldog. Yeah. European champion, Intercontinental champion, tag team champion. Hell, in his second run in the WWF, he also became hardcore champion. He was in contention for the WWF title a lot. But for some reason, they never put the strap on him. Could you imagine all the main events, all the battles? all the challengers coming at him, those would have been some classic matches. But he never did win the big one. Next up, number 4, Lex Luger. This one almost wouldn't have been on the list. I mean, way back when, he was in contention for the title. When Hulk Hogan jumped to WCW, they were looking for the next big Hulk Hogan, and they thought it would be Lex Luger. They had a Lex Express and everything. They hyped him up and all that, and he even challenged at SummerSlam against Yokozuna for the title. And although he won that match, it was by disqualification, and you can't win the title by disqualification. He had like another chance afterwards, but also he didn't do it then. And then after that, he got thrown down into the mid card and tag team card too, until he eventually left for WCW. Number 3, we have Sting. Now, I know I'm probably going to get some flack in this in the comments. Like, but he didn't wrestle in the WWF that long. He only had 2 matches. Blah, 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 blah. And while that was the case, it still counts because it's part of the criteria. And for the very longest time, he was known as to me anyway, as the best wrestler out there to not compete for the WWF, WWE. But after WCW shut its doors, he became part of World Wrestling Entertainment. And I forgot his first match, but his second match that everybody remembers it for was at WrestleMania when he faced Triple H. And when New World Order and Degeneration X showed up as well for the Nostalgia Act. But yeah. And after that, Sting just left. Imagine the possibilities if he stayed and actually went for the title. And number 2, the ninth wonder of the world herself, China. I mean, this woman did a lot. She was the first woman Intercontinental Champion. She was the first woman to participate in the King of the Ring. She was the first woman in the Royal Rumble. Not bad for someone who was at first just Triple H's bodyguard. And she retired as the women's champion, actually. But with all those firsts, they were pushing her to the moon. Could you imagine the possibilities if the late Chyna won the World Wrestling Federation champion and would have been the first woman to do so? It's such a shame, really. And the fact that she's not in the Hall of Fame as a solo, that's just a disgrace. But that's probably something for another countdown anyway. So, yeah. And without a doubt, number 1 is Owen Hart, the Rocket, the King of Hearts. Again, another guy that they were pushing a lot in the main events. Hell, who could forget the classic brother versus brother rivalry he had with Brett? And this guy fell to his death during a pay-per-view at an Over the Edge pay-per-view. He was, as his superhero personality, the Blue Blazer, challenging for the Intercontinental title. He was going to. I'm convinced he would have won the title that day, and who knows? And I'm also convinced that had he not died, he would have eventually went on to win the big one. But as it is, he never did. And a lot of people agree with me on 1 and 2. You might have to say John is number 1 and Owens number 2. But trust me, 1 and 2 I got correct, even if it does flip-flop. So, yeah. That was your first ever weekly Wednesday top 10. Now, if you can argue with me, do it in the comments. Just be nice. And yeah, I'll make this a weekly occurrence. So be on the lookout for more top 10s down the road on Wednesdays. And please, if you got a suggestion what you want me to rank as my top 10 for future episodes, feel free to leave it in the comments as well. And I'll think about it and see what I can come up with. All right? Check out my other videos on here. And yeah, I do believe that's all. So, yeah, that's a wrap. Until next time, this is Bubba Josh from Bubba Josh Productions, saying take care of yourselves and each other, and be safe, and make good decisions. Peace out, y'all.